Trump announced this week that he plans to deploy members of the National Guard to the U.S.-Mexico border. And late last night, that plan was set in motion when Defense Secretary James Mattis approved sending up to 4,000 National Guard troops to the border through September. Joining me now to discuss is Democratic Congressman Jimmy Gomez of California. Congressman, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So I would think as a member of both the Natural Resources Committee and the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, you would be aware if there was a crisis in surges of criminal activity at the U.S.-Mexico border. You are here in California, a border state. Is there a crisis at the U.S. southern border requiring National Guard troops?
Oh, no, not at all. Actually, apprehensions on the southern border are at an all-time low. We actually only had about 300,000 in 2017. So I think that Donald Trump actually views and gets his news from Fox News, and he saw this piece about a caravan, and that caravan, he's just using it as an excuse to mobilize the national troops because he failed to get his wall.
Now, we have data that says that apprehensions on the border are actually up. So February 2017, there were 23,555. 2018, 36,695. Is that a function of increased activity on the part of U.S. ICE agents, or is it a function of an increasing crisis requiring more interdictions?
No, it's only been an increase because it's at a historic low. It's actually been a historic low for about 45 years.
Okay.
So in George Bush's time, when he actually sent troops to the border, there was about 1 million apprehensions on average. So this is just a manufactured crisis so he can kind of play to his base and give more red meat to the people that voted for him.
Well, as somebody that's on government oversight and reform, if Donald Trump is simply sending U.S. National Guard troops who have to be paid, it's going to cost money to deploy them, so spending American tax dollars simply for a talking point for Fox News and for his base, is that something that your committee might want to look into?
I think we should. I think we should look at a lot of the decisions that this administration has made, because it's not based on facts. It's based on campaign promises that are meant to divide our country, to up his poll numbers.
Yeah, and you've got now a memo from the Pentagon about the National Guard, and it says the following. National Guard personnel will not perform law enforcement activities or interact with migrants or other persons detained by DHS personnel without approval, arming them, which this is the scary part, this idea of arming them, saying it will be limited to circumstances that might require self-defense. I mean, we know there's a posse comitatus statute that says that the U.S. military cannot operate on American soil. So all they can do is observe. What do you make of the idea that you now have this question of arming them?
I think, first, it's definitely not necessary. In the past, a lot of it has just been in support of the Border Patrol and their action. So a lot of it is just observing and reporting. So any idea of arming them is completely not necessary.
Yeah, let me let you listen to DHS Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen on whether or not Customs and Border Protection officers would indeed be armed. This is from Thursday.
Will they be armed? Will they be armed?
Armed or unarmed? Thank you. Let's start walking. Armed or unarmed? You can keep talking.
Okay. We are working. I mean, what I'd like to hear from the governors is what it is that they want. That's not anything that we have proposed, but we want to get to border security. So I think what we're saying here is we're going to do everything we can to do it until and when Congress acts.
So Ms. Nelson says she wants to hear from the governors. Well, let's hear from one, Governor Kate Brown of Oregon, a nearby state, on this idea of the National Guard on the border. Take a listen. Oh, I'll just read it. Sorry. If Donald Trump asks me to deploy Oregon National Guard troops to the Mexico border, I'll say no. As commander of Oregon's Guard, I'm deeply troubled by Trump's plan to militarize our border. Does the governor of California concur with Governor Brown or with Secretary Nelson?
I think Governor Brown, he's a very thoughtful governor. I've actually negotiated on bills. So I think he's looking at everything. One, is it a true crisis that he needs to send National Guards? Two, what's their scope of their work, right? Are they going to be enforcing? Three, who's going to pay for it? It's not going to be Mexico, right? That's a big issue. And when is it going to end? So I think Governor Brown's going to take a hard look, but most likely I encourage him to oppose it because this plan is just ridiculous and not necessary.
Well, on who's going to pay for it, the House of Representatives is the only appropriator of money under the U.S. Constitution. It does seem that Donald Trump is getting away with a lot in terms of spending money that Congress is supposed to oversee. So I ask again, the leadership in Congress, which of course is on the other side of the aisle, where is Congress?
We should be stepping up, right? Trey Gowdy, the chair of the Oversight Committee, the other day he said, you know what, I haven't done anything in my 7 years in Congress. Well, now is his time. He's not running for re-election.
Yeah.
Why don't we actually take some steps to hold this administration accountable, to protect our democracy, to make sure that the taxpayers' money isn't wasted?
Yep.
That's what he tried to do when Obama was in office. Why can't he hold the Trump administration to the same standards?
If Democrats took back the House and Elijah Cummings was the chair of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, would things be different?
Oh, very, very different. We'd be making sure that we had a hearing every week on every issue under the sun, including the EPA administrator who should resign, Trump's border wall, you name it, we'd be looking into every aspect of this administration.
Voters should make themselves aware. Representative Jimmy Gomez, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Really
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate being in your town.